Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
Morning.
Good
We are
morning.
back
Good
at
morning.
it.
The
Good morning.
squad is here. Happy
HR
tax
squad, baby.
day. Happy tax day.
Woo!
The
The HR
HR
squad.
morning show. All things HR, TA, people, culture, anything that falls underneath people. That's what we talk about all morning long, every Tuesday, 10 a.m. I am here. Full squad in the house. Danielle Farage, Joel Algie, and the Purple Acorn crew in the production truck. Good morning, everybody. How's everyone doing?
Doing good. How are you doing, Adam Posner? We missed you last week. It's good to have you back.
I am. Today is sponsored by coffee. Today's show is sponsored by caffeine. We are here. We are
Hey,
doing it.
what are
What's
we
I'm
happening?
sponsored by the podcast.
Oh wow! Look at that. I am honored. I love when we have the full squad today, and we got a full lineup, guys. We got
We do.
a big event roundup. We got Unleashed cover from Kennedy Cook, a call from Kibben, and Summer Baruth in the house. We have a full one today, but let's do a quick check-in. Danielle, what's happening, girl?
Yeah, I'm prepping for this spring season we're having. Went to Central Park yesterday. It's like we're blooming. Beautiful, beautiful trees. Anyone who lives in New York City, go for a
Yes.
walk.
Yeah,
You got mice?
I took my Allegra this morning. My Allegra D. I'm good. I can now go
Yep.
outside.
I'm on the Zysol game.
Well, that's children's Zysol, right? My kids are on Zysol.
No, it's for adults too.
Sometimes I just take a shot of it when they're doing it just for extra protection because it tastes so good. It really does. I'm like, oh, give me that
Drop
Zysol.
your preferred allergy medicine in the chat.
Are you Claritin? Are you Allegra? Are you Zysol? Are you old school Benadryl? What are you on these days for your
That's
allergy regimen?
crazy.
What's on your regimen?
Sometimes people think my last name is Allergy. They call me Joel
Joel,
Allergy.
You are abrasive and you can cause a rash, but let's get to it, guys.
Who's out there? We want to know who's out there in the chat. Why don't you get in the chat, say hi, say where you're coming from, say if you're in HR recruiting, what you're doing. We want to know. We want to hear from you. It's a live show. Adam is live. Danielle's live. I'm live. Get in the chat. Say hi. We will. We'll shout you out.
So we were just chatting before about our. Well, I mean, listen, we talk about AI and ChatGPT all the time. I was talking about I got into a fight with ChatGPT last night. Joel was talking a little bit about how he uses it for his work too, and we're gonna have some more conversation around how to use it the right way, how to use it enough, how do you manipulate it, how do you test into it across recruiting, content, so many things. So we're gonna dig into that in future episodes. I think there's a lot of legs there, and we will get into it. But guys, don't forget, we are here every Tuesday morning. We are part of the Purple Acorn Network. You can check us out at purpleacornnetwork.com. Follow us on LinkedIn. We're on YouTube. We're a podcast, and we're hitting that 2,000 follower mark. So come engage and get involved. Danielle, we're going to get to event roundup in a little bit. Let's talk about San Fran. Tell us a little bit about what you were doing last week out on the left coast.
All right. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of the term industrial intelligence before.
Joel has a lot of that.
Yeah. Intelligence. I'm all about that.
Yeah. So basically, it's where AI and the process of machines, right, intersect, and where you essentially create AI powered machines. That's what it means. So I went to an industrial intelligence conference, the largest, I think, in the world.
Wow.
This is very niche, and it was hosted by this company, Aviva, where they're doing a lot of stuff to invest in young professionals. They have a rotational program. They're doing a lot to get more women and just young people generally involved in STEM and in this kind of industry, which to me is very unsexy from the outside. But if you actually peel back the layer, is very interesting. And so they manufacture. Manufacturing is obviously making a big comeback in the United States, and we'll talk about that actually today with Surge.
Interesting.
But I will say, they have a majority of the market share. The company's owned by Schneider Electric. So
Big company.
I conquered.
Nice.
It was the first time I was back in SF in 15 years. It was stunning weather. So really nice to get out of New York, to be honest.
Listen, I mean, we see these at conferences all the time. It's to really explore, to dig in all these industries that don't seem sexy. That's where the money is, right? When you're looking for new opportunities, and this goes for career seekers out there too. When you're exploring roles and you see there's a saturation in the market, look unsexy. There's money in unsexy people. Little pro tip. What do you say, Joel?
Well, look, it's
Barrett in the house.
Rona, what is up? Yeah, so we have some, I talk to a lot of job seekers, obviously, with the platform that I have, and a lot of people are obsessed with getting into tech, or there's people just say that, hey, I want to get into tech. And I'm like, well, I'm like, IT is still tech, right? So you could work at a company in the IT department, helping them with digital transformation.
Right.
That is also tech. What I would say is with a lot of these industries, they need a lot of work with understanding how to relate to Gen Z, and I think that's why tech has done a good job. They've made it. They've done well. They've stayed on the trends, right? They've got the influencers doing the day in the life videos.
Mm-hmm.
They know how to attract that generation. Now, a lot of times, some of these other industries, healthcare, manufacturing, even hospitality and retail, at times,
Right.
sometimes they struggle to do that and understand. So I think, you have to have that push. Construction's the same way. You got to have that push where you're open to,
Mhm.
can we start to understand this up and coming generation to attract them in? Otherwise, you're going to run into the same issues a lot of these companies have had for years, which is, how do we fill some of these tough to fill open roles? How do
Right.
we start to
Yeah.
win that war for talent?
Yeah, it's going to be a fascinating space to watch, especially manufacturing coming back. Maybe there will be a flip in this country where we're
Yeah.
getting back to more of these blue collar roles that are out there that are so
I
good,
mean,
and stability and unions and manufacturing. I mean, the country needs to get built. In the same breath, right? We talk about labor costs too, and that'll be a much bigger issue in China.
Well,
I
so
will,
you got automation too, right?
I will say that to Joel's point though, like with a lot of that blue collar work, like electricians, plumbers, like all of those things that aren't going away anytime soon, I will say there is an appeal and there's a story you could tell to this next generation of, hey, go to trade school versus college, get your degree in this, work in an apprenticeship for a few years, which, by the way, in the UK, apprenticeships are much bigger than they are here and in Europe.
I think they're mandatory as part of the process, right? The apprenticeship process, which is here too, but not as
Yeah.
mandatory from
But
a
you get
labor
paid
law
for it along the
perspective,
way, and then you can own your own business in within 5 years.
right?
And I think that aligns very well with what the next generation wants, or at least what I hear and what the studies show in terms of starting our own businesses. So it's a really fascinating space to watch. I've met people who have transitioned from being in social work to becoming a plumber,
Yeah.
electrician,
Yeah.
and it's cool to see that people are discovering this space. So I'm excited to just eager to
Yeah,
watch.
but I want to be a content creator.
Well, you can't go to trade school for that, but you can take Joel's course. You
Yeah,
can.
you
Let's
can.
let's keep it going. We got a good one today in headlines. Let's get to headlines. Let's dig into this one. It's headlines.
Headline.
Corporate.
Okay, we are finally talking about this case. If you were at, what was it? It was at
Transform.
The
Yeah.
other week. There was a interesting post that went around where basically news broke of this crazy lawsuit going on between Rippling and Deal. Rippling is suing Deal because there was a corporate espionage that happened where a Deal employee who went to Rippling was stealing information from Rippling and giving it to Deal, and Deal was paying them what, like $6,000?
It's so laughable. I mean, you'd have to pay me so much more to put my reputation, career, criminal, like all this stuff on the line. Like, it's like the Timu.
How much, Adam?
It's like
what's
the Timu
your
espionage.
No, what's your number? I want to know what's the number for
Yeah.
this.
There's honestly, there's no price on integrity. You can't buy my.
That's
integrity.
true.
You
Oh,
can't.
that's
Like,
And
a-
this
that's
guy's
a
name is
quote.
now.
Believe me,
now
I've been
now
offered. I've been offered a lot. I've been offered a lot to go to the dark side, and I just
it's
won't.
public now. So anyway, the story is at Transform, their booths were right next to each other, right across from each other, which was so
Yeah.
funny.
They could have really capitalized on some sort of like boxing match.
And there was rumors
or,
that it was a publicity stunt. I'm like, dude, there's no way Rippling would give a like Rippling and eat them. Like why would that ever be a publicity stunt? It's terrible. It's illegal. It's criminal. But like, it's so petty too. Like, there's so
Yeah.
many better ways to spy. So I've heard.
Yeah. Well, anyway, the latest info is that Rippling uncovered this espionage, and they basically are trying to they're trying to bring them to court. They're ready to go all the way, and Deal's like, bring it on. But the funniest part for me is that this employee who was the mole went into the bathroom and destroyed his phone. He did a factory reset and then later destroyed his phone, and they're not pressing charges or for tampering with the case and the evidence. So I found that pretty interesting.
This is shady.
Yeah, it's continuing.
This is normal.
It's
This is
not gonna end.
normal. Yeah,
It's a normal day in the life of HR and TA tech, right?
I mean, in the recruitment agency world, this is just a normal thing, right? We all do this. We all steal information, right? right?
No,
Adam?
no,
You?
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. The realist recruiter does not steal information.
the steelist recruiter.
The fakest recruiter.
So
does.
is this deal CEO like asking for people to? Is this him like is begging for people to steal information from Rippling? Is this what his picture's all about? Or this photo?
I don't know what's
I guess so.
Give me
I mean,
your
it's-
information.
At this point, like,
Collision.
what's
It's also
I'm
last
curious
year.
what the evidence is
And
that
that
this
photo's
is
old too.
happening. They haven't.
This is made for a Hallmark movie. I'm telling you, like an after school special
yeah.
right here.
And it says center stage. So you guys can't see this, but it says deal CEO Alex on center stage during collusion to 2022.
Collusion. I don't think it's called collision.
Yeah, okay, all right.
Collusion.
I will say though, Rippling also, like if you wanted to get into their event, they had this weird waitlist thing at Transform. So it's kind of payback for that probably.
They're just too popular here. I mean, it's kind of interesting too. I mean, listen, you want to get competitive intel, right? There's other ways to do it. I think the best way to do it is to have a really good fake candidate go in and interview and see how far you can get into the process and a really good interview. I mean, listen, they're not going to give away the farm there, but like, what was the information? Was it like code? Was it technical stuff? Was it strategy, pricing? Like what was it? What was the information that they were going for?
The go-to-market strategy.
Here's a go-to-market strategy. Go to market and get the market.
Basically, Ripley uncovered the alleged espionage through a honeypot strategy. This is how they uncovered it.
Oh, the honeypot strategy.
They created a fake Slack channel that was like shitting on Deal, I guess. And then they like trapped this guy who joined the Slack channel.
Okay, can I come? New employee?
Dang.
Hey, I heard you guys have a channel shitting on my not old.
So how do you think this is impacting Deal? I mean, do you think this is it's a big deal for Deal, or what's the deal?
And they say any press is good press. I don't think so in this case. I think it's a bad luck.
True.
Bad luck.
I'm interested how this affects employee retention, how it affects the candidate experience, morale.
Well, I just saw like a recruiter today. They're joining Deal, so it didn't. That's not really impacting hiring, obviously.
I don't know, but this is going to continue, and our friends over at Chad and Cheese are on the case. I think they're actually in production for this movie. I think they secured the rights. Is that true? We can fact check that one. I'll reach out to Chad and
that would be
later.
a good one. That
so.
would be cool.
I think they're a production company. This is going to be their first independent project. So
really?
But we can verify this with our friends over at CNC and see what's happening over there.
That'd
I love
be cool.
that. That is awesome.
Yeah, that's a rumor mill, folks. That's a rumor.
I'll be in it.
What role are you going to play?
I'll play the girlfriend of the mole.
Why don't you play the private investigator? I think
that's good.
I think it's a better role for you.
But if I'm the girlfriend of the mole, then I'm like, you have to do the right thing.
Oh, Evan White said head of comms just left too. They couldn't deal with the heat.
Can't deal with the heat over there. That's some intel from White Evan.
White Evan's all over the PR
White
news.
Evans, but we want to know what you guys think. What are you hearing in the rumor mill? Drop them in the comments here. Let's get spicy. And speaking of spicy, I have some things to say to my man Clark, who's been heating it up on LinkedIn. Let's get to it. Clark with the top 100.
Hot 100.
Hot, not top.
On stage. What is up, everyone? All right, Hot 100. We're actually going to try to keep it in 100 seconds today. We're going to talk about the 5 ways to use AI without not only just losing your voice, but actually developing your voice. So very timely topic with what the host talked about this morning. So AI is everywhere. It can be great. It's a double-edged sword. I think that's been acknowledged, right? So, but how do you actually use it without losing your voice? And I'm sure Adam's going to call me out because I've been going hard in the paint the last few weeks on this. And I think Joel, mentioned it last week or 2 weeks ago. You don't want to let AI do your thinking, right? You want to use your experience, the war stories in recruiting, your wins, the ups and downs, I can't believe that just happened, or I wish the candidate only knew this, or I wish the clients knew this. Like, content is a muscle, right? AI is really just a gym equipment, right? You've got to actually put in the work, lift the weights. One of the ways to use this, use voice to text. Instead of just looking at a blank screen, right? ChatGPT, use a little microphone and just talk into it. I think you got like a 10-minute cap, right? It's an easy way to get your words just like down, at least transcribed. If if you don't feel like writing, right? So, but you can actually capture your ideas, especially as they kind of happen in the moment, that you get that fuel from a client or candidate call that you want to talk about, you want to vent to, right? That's a way to kind of leverage AI. You can start with, maybe a punchy post on LinkedIn, ask it to help you create maybe a 200-word post, right? Make it casual, insightful, right? Don't capitalize the whole headline, or, avoid some of the other telltale signs like rocket emojis, M dashes, like just get rid of those. Make sure you're actually the final editor if you're going to use it, but really build, right? You should be writing 5, 10, 15 posts yourself, posting those out there. And then when you can repurpose that and spin off different ideas, that's when your content starts to become a little bit better. So figure out your voice, have AI help, but then make sure you're doing the final edits. Guys, gang, that's what I got.
I
Yeah,
absolutely love this,
spicy.
Clark. Such great advice. And I will say, from a content creator perspective, less so recruiter perspective,
Uh,
when I went to a conference last week, and it's so hard to, synthesize everything that you took in and just create scripts and just create content. At least for me, Joel is like a different story. He's like a machine. But when I sat down basically on Friday after the conference, and I just spewed into ChatGPT. I was like, this
Really?
is what happened. This was my every single day. And from this, can you write, 3 scripts for 3 different posts, 2 of them day of the life, one of them this other thing, like one of them, key takeaways, and include XYZ and in this style of content. And I gave it an example. And so if you're really specific about the prompting, I think you could create actually really great
Oh yeah.
scripts, but you have to refine it. Like you said, you have to, you know, you have to edit it. You have to come up with a better hook, because usually their hooks are
hooks
really
are
corny and
brutal.
bad.
Yeah.
But and then I was also reading a piece the other day about how ChatGPT and like all the AI, like everything, is very male focused from a male communication perspective. So I'm like, I also need to bake in the empathy and make sure I like say it in the tone of voice of like a woman, and given that I am one. So yeah, those are my thoughts, but I love this topic so much.
Yeah, I mean, I agree too, and it comes to playing with it. And I think a really good investment, everybody, and this is where you'll see a big difference here in 2 different folds. One, invest in the $20 a month version of ChatGPT 4.0. It gives you multiple also options to choose from which GPT. If you're using images, if you're using video graphics, you could get a lot more into the weeds here. The other thing is really dig into your prompts. I use AI to actually help me with the prompts. Don't just take the first thing that it spits out as gospel. It'll give you prompts to say, do you want to adjust the tone? Do you want to adjust this? Like, work it. Put the time in and work it so it doesn't look as noticeable. And then what I always say, my kind of back a napkin is whenever I'm doing anything with AI, it usually gets me about 70% of the way there. And then I copy it into a Google Doc or an email, whatever, and then I really work it, right? I really work the text, reformat it, and then you have to, guys, every word needs to be fact checked. You cannot take it as gospel because it's pulling in from different sources, and it's not always 100% accurate. So please fact check or you'll get called out.
I will say,
100%.
ChatGPT started to do what Claude does and what some Perplexity does, which is they started to source where they get the
Yeah.
information. But I
You'll,
will
you'll
say,
see it in
so
line.
fact
You'll see it
check.
in line. Yeah, you can like
Yeah.
click on it and through that. It's interesting.
Yeah.
Clark, you've been a little spicy on LinkedIn lately. What's that all about?
I have what are you referring to?
I just think like I think your comments are just they're poignant, and I think that I like to see this side of you too, because it's really, in my opinion, framing you as an expert and even more because you're backing up what you're saying with facts.
Yeah.
And I think it's I think it's a good look for you. I like it. You're stirring the pot a little bit, just giving you sending you some
Good.
flowers, as the kids say.
Oh, I appreciate it. I've been fired up. I definitely
What
would
is it?
love to know which
Is this lack of sleep? Is it because I remember when my kids were little, like I get testy with no sleep, man.
well,
I get
2
that's
under
when pots get
2.
spicy.
Well, 2 under 2 with a colic newborn. Yeah, it's my wife's handling the majority of that, but we hear, but it's really more. the recruiters are getting bombarded with ads and sell this, and we could save your business and
all day
all
long.
that. And it's just like
Cohorts.
the save your business mindset is brutal. Like only you can save you.
That's a terrible positioning too from an advertiser. I didn't mean to cut you off there, but like
No.
when you're going after, hey, is your recruitment business going down the toilet? Oh, we could save you with these shitty LinkedIn ads. Like, come
It's
on.
like 0 to 50K a month. I'm like, get to 0, get to 5K, get to 10K.
Get one
You
deal
know,
across the board.
Get one deal. Start having better meetings, right? Start not repelling your hiring managers with terrible outreach, like more volume without any thoughtful.
Well, it's like with sales. I was talking to a friend who's outside of recruiting, and they wanted to put him into sales roles at his family business, and he's so afraid of the sales. I said, look, man, it's relationship building.
Mm-hmm.
It's start asking questions, stop pitching whatever it is you got, start building those relationships. I'm like, you're overthinking it. And I know there's a couple tools out there right now that are leveraging the fact that recruiters are afraid of business development. And I'm like, stop calling it business development. Can you stop calling it business? Call it relationships and helping people. Okay?
Yeah.
And if you don't think you're helping people and bringing value, then you need to rethink your business.
And it's never been easier to do quote unquote business development or build relationships. And I've talked about that. Like you have your top of funnel. Like I had a client yesterday, he's just completely overthinking this. And I'm like, just connect with people the right people at scale. Like that's it. You can do it manually. You can automate it. I don't care, but just get them to know you. Stop thinking someone's going to go from cold to like your best client off one amazing message, right? I mean,
wow, that email just nailed it. You just nailed
wishes. Yeah, it's like it's just not. It's not happening.
No, I got a friend who he just started taking people out for coffees locally, and the guy's cranking out 60 to 80K a month. So,
just coffees,
because he just relationship coffee, follow up, caring, adding value. There was no AI hack there.
No.
There was no AI. I'm not saying AI is bad, obviously, but I think we're just forgetting basics. Like
it's not gonna just get you the results, right? You can't just snap your fingers and shortcut doing the actual work. And most people just aren't honest with themselves. And they're like, oh, I can buy a tech and it'll solve all my problems. It's like, no, the people that I see get results, my clients that get results, they work their tails off and they leverage tech, right? Good. But they post to post. They don't post all call to action on every post. Like, just get rid of it. Just start posting to just give value for a month straight. I had to tell another client that just no hashtags. You're not allowed to pitch any of your products. You're starting out. You're only posting for a month. Like, that's it. Like, and guess what? It works.
What do you think about someone asking you for a meeting, introducing you to a few people who like may or may not be beneficial to your business, and then asking you for 3 introductions back?
It just seems inauthentic and weird.
I've seen that play.
You can't formula a relationship.
Hey, shout out to Brian Fink in the chat too. Fink is lighting it up. Spicy Clark, a little hot pepper. A little hot pepper. Truth.
Spicy.
Go back to my Algerian roots. No, but it's Danielle. It's just got to be authentic. Like I also don't want to meet with everyone.
Yeah.
So
some people aren't targets.
Some people aren't. Like most recruiters are difficult to deal with, so I don't want to work with most of them.
I take offense to that. Hey, you insulted him a little bit. You did.
If you take offense, I might be talking about you. No, the recruiters that know me and that I work with, they know exactly what I'm talking about, right? And that's good for any market, right? If you're in SaaS sales, you don't want to be like most people that sell SaaS. Like that's just you want to be the ones that stand out. So like it's a good thing if you're watching the show. If you're on here, it means you're actively participating in your own learning and trying to get better. It's probably not you, right? But if you're constantly complaining and being like, why do people just post content? Yeah, why don't they get to work? Well, it's like content can be the work. It can be the sales.
It's part of it. It's part of it. It's all part. It's all part of the process here.
All holistic.
But that's the fire. That's the fire we like to see there. There's Clark. Clark, what else is happening in your world? What else?
Yeah, we got ERIN in a couple weeks. I'm excited to see the crew
there. Gang out there.
I think we're hosting it from the DR booth, so I'm pretty pumped about that.
It's gonna be dope.
We got some good stuff coming up. So
you're gonna get my deep fake in there. I'm not even going.
It's a hologram, Joel. I think.
Oh, well, we'll get to more of that. Well, it's exciting for you guys to be out on the road. It is definitely conference season, first half of the year conference season. Sure. We're gonna get to what else is cracking out there. But Clark, where could folks find you? Where could they connect? Where could they find out more about the Digital Recruiter?
DigitalRecruiter.io. We work with agency recruiters, corporate recruiters. We get your LinkedIn dialed in and get you set up to learn some video from Joel. So reach out, Clark Wilcox, double L on Wilcox on LinkedIn. And until next time, y'all. Appreciate
There we
you having me.
go, Clark. Awesome. Good to see you, buddy. Keep it
Thanks, y'all.
spicy, keep it hot, get some sleep. Let's get to the event roundup. Here we go.
So fun. Look at here. All right. First up, we have our Smart Recruiters event. Hiring managers are the secret to retention. Here's how the right tools can help. This is happening on Thursday, April 24th, 2025 at 12 p.m. PDT. So that's 3 p.m. Eastern time.
What?
And
2 p.m. Central. Don't forget Central.
We just kind of skip over this. It's just easier to go East and West Coast. The Central and
Whatever.
yeah, Central's
Mountain Time. Don't even get me started with Mountain Time. Mountain Time's not even a thing in my life.
me either.
MT. When I see that MT, I'm like, what? What?
Who we got speaking here?
We have Bill Peterson, Jenny Johnson, and Mike Rockwell. Sorry, guys,
Yeah,
you guys are
nice.
not good. And I guess the topic is really how to position your brand to attract top talent consistently through LinkedIn. And yeah, I mean, I think that the hiring process really is so crucial. It sets the tone for the rest of an experience of working somewhere. And there's a lot of studies to show that there's actually a huge impact on the rest of the employee experience and retention.
Of course.
Well, look, I love recruiting new people, but you know what? You got to keep them. Like, I can recruit them. I can go find them, but you can't keep them. I mean, I'll keep finding them, but if you can't keep them, you know, you're losing half the battle, right? It's like, yeah, we can find them, attract them, and then you just lose them because you don't know how to actually be.
Your net is loose. You got to tighten that net up.
Yeah.
So
Retention net. You got to keep them right. It's one thing to recruit. It's one thing to retain.
Did I tell you guys about the time I got hired and they
One
sent
time
me
in band camp?
cupcakes I couldn't eat?
What?
They had me fill out a form and I was like, oh, I'm allergic to gluten and dairy, or like I don't eat either. And then they sent me cupcakes that were dairy and gluten filled.
Wow.
Oh man,
Like-
they just didn't get the memo. These are the
Wow.
details. The
I'm
devil's in the
vegan.
details.
I got poached.
vegan.
I got
Wow,
poached.
what else we got? We got smart recruiters. What else we got going on?
Wreckfest.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, just revealed their
Wreckfest.
stages.
I just
So they have the Inspire stage, the Innovate stage, the Unplug stage, and the Disrupt stage. In my opinion, the best one.
yeah. And little birdie has it that we're gonna have a lot of the gang out there. We're working on some things, some really cool things. We're talking to some partners. We're making plans. It is not too early, folks, to get involved with Wreckfest US Nash Vegas, baby.
Nash
Sounds
Vegas.
so fun.
When is it?
Nash
October.
Vegas? Is that a place?
I just call it Nash Vegas.
Oh.
And I will say, look, I think Wreckfest has really good vibes.
Oh, yeah.
It's definitely an experience, and
Highly
and look, it's a
recommended.
celebration of
Recruiters.
of the fam. You know, the recruiter fam.
Well, that's what I love about Wreckfest, right? And I've been to US, I've been to UK. It's about recruiters, right? You go to a lot of the every conference has their place, right? And this one is in the trenches, us working recruiters out there. We come together, we learn, we hang, we engage. That's what it's all about.
We bully
Massive.
those AI tools that say they're going to replace us.
Oh,
We
yeah.
just we throw stuff at their booths if they're there. Just kidding. You can still
Oh, no.
sponsor it,
But guys, if you want to get involved with Purple Acorn, we're going to be out in Wreckfest. Please hit any of us up. We're happy to talk about what we're doing out there. We have a lot of love for Wreckfest and Nashville, and we're working on some really cool stuff. What else, Danielle? What else we got going on?
What else? We have you're
Oh, yes.
Oh.
Yeah, here's the news flash. Breaking news, everybody. This is a massive, massive announcement. My friend Rona Pierce will be filling in for me, the pause on the Pausecast at Unleash Las Vegas with our friends over at Fountain. Rona will be stepping into the Pausecast seat. I couldn't be more excited and proud to hand the mic over.
What an honor.
This is really interesting on so many different levels. First and foremost, to give a new voice, new perspective to the podcast, bring new voices out there, to work with our friends over at Fountain, to highlight the thought leaders, the experts, and the speakers that are going to be at Unleash. Rona will be broadcasting from the Fountain Boardroom, which is going to be right off the expo floor, so please come over and check
Sweet.
that out. She's awesome. We're lining up some great interviews, and Rona's gonna crush it. We cannot wait. And give me your thoughts. You like this new look, the pink podcast
I
brand
love it.
expansion
Way
here.
better. Way better.
Way
Very
better than
cool.
the blue, right? And it
Way
wasn't like a
better.
boy girl thing with the pink and the blue. The blue was just my color. If you could tell, I like the blue
And
highlights.
pink is Rona's color.
And that's her color. That's her font. She is unveiling her new logo there too. And
I love that.
big shout out to our friends over at Found. Our updates. We'll talk about some speakers that she'll be interviewing. And if you have any recommendations, shoot me a note, shoot me a DM. Rona will be out there. So
Can I go
shout
on
out
your
to Rona.
podcast?
In Rona, we trust at Unleashed. Thank you, Fountain, and thank you,
Neither
Rona.
of us. We're ineligible.
No, you're not qualified. No.
Definitely not. Super
Guys.
unqualified, actually.
Guys, if you guys are not subscribed to the HR Morning Show, now this is your opportunity, right? 'Cause
Yeah,
we're a
get involved.
podcast. We're not only a live show, we're a podcast.
We are.
And look, on Purple Acorn, we got some of the best podcasts out there. All right, so you need to scan right here. You never miss an episode. We're on iTunes, Spotify. We're all over the place. So you can just use this QR code to scan. You'll get the new episodes. Because I get it. You know, some of you guys are working. Some of you guys are working out there. Not everybody. But if you are working, you don't want to miss an episode, scan the QR code, and you can start listening right now. What other shows do we have? We got the Alder Hour. And look,
Oh yeah.
recently somebody came out and said that they had the #1 recruiting podcast, and they were like 15 episodes in. I'm like,
Who said that?
you don't want to know. I'll tell you offline. But let me just clear this up. Let me clear the air.
There's
the
a champ out
#1
there.
recruiting podcast is the Alder Hour live show. But his
the legend
recruiting
of Matt
future
Alder.
is, I mean, he's got like over 1,000 episodes on that.
Dude,
so-
yeah,
Yeah,
he's been
crazy.
doing it since a caveman. I think he was
Yeah,
the first recruiting podcast when they were
You-
looking for wheel makers.
Yeah, he did the podcast when they were using fax machines. But we are excited to have the Alder
Frozen
Hour
neutral.
on Purple Acorn Network. So you can scan a QR code to subscribe to that. We've got My First Job. I like to call it Mike's first
fun.
job. I don't know why they didn't call it Mike's first job, but no, it's with Mike Wood. Mike Wood is an absolute legend. Get to
Yeah.
hear stories from everybody's origins, like how did you start off in work? Pretty sure they just had the CEO of was it Greenhouse on there as well, or the CEO
Daniel
founder.
Chait.
Yep. So go check that out. Scan the QR code. Who else we got, Danielle? Let us know. Who's next?
We got From the Desk with Jada Montemarano.
Yeah. I just wanted you to handle that.
Who is she's a real journalist, guys. Yeah, as opposed to us. But Jada's honestly so great. We had her on this show a few months ago, and
Yeah.
she really just dives deep with experts from around the industry, and I really appreciate that outsider perspective coming in and like really asking hard hitting questions that get to the heart of our industry and talking about it from the inside out. So I love that. I love her. Big fan.
Love it. So scan those QR codes, subscribe. You'll never miss an episode.
And we might have a caller.
Did we? Is that?
You know
guys
what?
messing with me? Are you guys messing with me?
I seriously never made that connection until you just did that.
That's because I don't. Where are you? This is not home.
No, it's not home. I'm in New York.
What?
I am. I know. I'm here. I flew in for the day. I'm hanging out with the CEO and a few others doing some
Doing some name dropping.
prep work. And yeah, that's where I'm
Awesome.
hanging. So right now
Where
I'm in
are you?
I'm in
Midtown? Where are you? Midtown?
right. I don't know. I don't know New York. I'm near the Flatiron. I'm in Chelsea.
Oh.
I'm in
Oh,
Chelsea.
nice.
I'm in an A loft. Very
A loft.
exciting.
Is it a
Real.
loft or a loft?
I call it a loft. Is it a loft?
I think it's Euro sense. Like, a loft. Like
A
oven.
loft. I'm a loft. I'm a loft in this white room. is
Well,
what I meant.
I'm a loft, and we're talking about what do we talk about? We're always talking about AI, Ellen, right? But today we're talking
We are.
about trust, and trust isn't static, and neither is AI. And we were talking about this a little bit earlier, how it's not like you can't take everything as gospel that comes out of this. You really, really, really need to dig in here. But there's a lot more to it. Like let's talk about this trust game here, right? We used to fear these black boxes, and now we're figuring out how to work with them. But where's trust?
Yeah.
Do we trust the machine?
So,
Are we going full robot here? What's going on?
I think there's a couple of key things to note, right? The first is for a lot of companies that they're looking at putting in solutions, tech solutions across their tech stack, particularly in the hiring frame. There's a lot of question about, is it trustworthy? That first impression will last
Mm,
forever. So there's a lot of anxiety about it. And when we first started talking about AI, I mean, I'm just going to age myself. I am remembering
no.
sitting in a conference room when I worked at Intel, around a table, and we really didn't know what questions to ask, right? We didn't know how to tell if this thing was viable,
Of
would it
course.
work for us. It was in the early days. If you remember, IBM was just starting to play around with Watson,
Hmm.
right? And we were starting to have conversations about, can AI predict skills, and could we be using it to do psychometric assessment? And there's a lot of angst around it. And at those days, the question that was always asked in the room when we were assessing vendors was, is this a white box or a black box? Meaning, can I understand the code in it? And can I understand how it's operating? Right?
For just pause on that for 1 second out there, because I think there's a lot of people when they hear these. If you could just give a quick little definition, difference between a white box and a black box solution.
Yeah. Yeah. So a black box solution, or kind of, I would say, kind of the old school way of thinking about it, was a black box solution is a vendor who comes in, or an AI solution that comes in, and there's an algorithm, something happening in the background there, but you don't have access to the code. You don't really understand how it's making its choices or decisions. And so it's considered a black box. You don't have the ability to go in and maybe audit or edit it in
And
the
I think
same
it's kind of
way.
a play on like the airline black box. It's a sealed thing. You can't
Right.
do anything about it. It's capturing the data, right? So let's just go with that analogy. And the white box, I
Right.
assume you have more control with the back end.
Yeah, you have more control with the back end. It has a sense of traceability to it.
Hmm.
It can have very explainable algorithms. Well, here's the challenge. That works really well when you're talking about non-generative or non-agentic or
Hmm.
non-learning AI systems, right? Because in a non-learning system, kind of our basic AI algorithms that we first started with, you could figure out what the programming was in it. You knew what the inputs were. And so you could go and validate and verify in a very static way whether those inputs would produce the results that would you could test and validate and verify with a learning AI platform. So these new platforms, a lot of the LLMs, right? Stuff that is based off these large language models. The AI is learning. And part of what's challenging is sometimes the AI itself can't explain why it learned something, why
Interesting.
it's
That's a
doing
problem.
something slightly differently. It's a huge problem.
Like, shouldn't
And
it be able when you prompt it to explain itself?
it can't always, right?
I was just saying,
Especially
I
when
was
it
fighting
does
with
more
my AI
complex
last
stuff.
night. I was fighting with it. I was looking for an output. It wasn't giving it to me in the right amount of time. And then I was challenging him, like, you said you could do this and you didn't do it, but it didn't give me the reasons until I asked it. I'm like, am I talking to my 5-year-old? 7-year-old? I don't even know
Well,
how my kid is, right? I felt like I'm like, hey,
yep.
why didn't you do that? You told me you were
Yeah,
going to do
that is
that.
Yeah, that is an excellent way to think about it. Your AI is learning much like children learn,
Yes.
right? They are absorbing information from the environment around them, the inputs that they've had, the places where they are connected to data. So here's what this means to a TA team or to somebody who's building out their tech stack. It means, yes, you need to be concerned about whether or not you can assess and verify the outputs of your AI. Can you test it, right? Can you ensure that it's not creating bias, all of those things? But you can't do it the way we used to. It used to be very kind of static one time
Hmm.
test, and then maybe you could go in and test it again another year later or another year later. We now need to think about how we assess the outputs of AI a lot more like an airplane navigation or set of instruments that you're looking at. You have to look at the data constantly. You have to be assessing it and balancing against what your outputs look like and what the results look like.
Hmm.
Right. So instead of kind of going in and testing it one moment at a time, you're instead looking at a series of metrics. I think one of the best definitions I got of where we were headed and where we are now was from a good friend of mine, Tyler Weeks. He used to work with me at Intel. He's over at Marriott now.
Interesting.
Um, and one of the things that he said was, when we start evolving technology, particularly in these spaces, and it starts taking over more of the tasks involved in our daily work, we need to start thinking about measuring it and assessing it just like we do humans, right? So all of us have a set of metrics that we're usually operating towards, or that are used to assess whether we are delivering what we're intended to deliver. Are we delivering it with the right level of quality?
So,
All of those elements.
so how do you build it? How do you build in tools and pieces to help you fact check and stay within the guardrails? Like that needs to be part of the process.
It absolutely has to be part of the process. You have to design it from the very beginning. You have to know what your metrics are. And what is quality look like for you? What are you really? What is the most important thing? Is it bias? Is it, which hopefully it is. Hopefully you're testing against that, right? Or maybe it is metrics around volume or quality or any of those elements.
Well,
You have to have those metrics. You have to be able to go back in and measure against the metrics, not measure against the action,
that is
right?
that
Which is
is a good
very
one.
different.
Well, Alin, speaking of quality, we're hearing some issues on the back end with my feed here, so I want to keep it tight for everyone out there. Leave us with one final thought. We're going to tighten this one up for today.
Okay, so the biggest final thought is you can't operate in blind faith. You need to have a plan going into it. And your first impression as you start putting in AI into your ecosystem will be the lasting impression. So
Ooh,
don't go too fast. You can't sit on it and not take action, but you need to have a plan to go forward with.
you got to have a plan to go forward. Alin, thank you so much. Have a great time in New York. I want everyone to check out Smart Recruiters. What else are we talking about?
Oh, let's see, what else are we talking about? We're going to be at Unleash America. So we actually are doing something really fun. If you guys want to have more AI conversations,
So much
we're
AI.
not we're not doing a booth. We are actually doing an AI lounge. I
Ooh,
promise you,
fancy.
this is not a sales opportunity. This is just people and friends and individuals who have been having a lot of conversation around AI hanging out. We're going to have an open bar. Just come hang out the entire time during Unleash and have a chat about AI.
Love it. I love it. Awesome. Alin Bailey, thank you so much for joining us. Catch us next week. Bell will be back with Alin. Have a safe and wonderful time in the greatest city on earth. Alin Bailey, Smart Recruiter, thank you
Awesome.
so much. Let's keep it moving and
Thanks,
get to our next
guys.
caller.
All right, we got our next caller. Hello, who do we have with us today?
Hi, I am Kennedy Cook. I'm the head of startup at Unleash.
Unleash. Okay, so I've heard a little bit of about Unleash, but why don't you give us the full update? What is Unleash? What makes Unleash different, and why do people need to be at Unleash this year?
Absolutely. So it is coming up on May 6th through 8th in Viva Las Vegas at Caesars Forum.
Vegas. I love it.
Vegas! Some of our headline sponsors include Deloitte, HiBob, SAP, Vizier, Workday, Indeed, HiBob, and so many more. We also have 50 plus startups in attendance. And some of our
Amazing.
past keynote speakers have included Magic Johnson, which was absolutely epic last year. I actually got to give him a high five,
That's
and
awesome.
I think he's like literally 6'9", and I'm 5'1". So I was like
Uh,
jumping to
did you get it
basically.
on video? Did you get it in action?
No, I'm so sad, but we did get a picture though. So
All right. That's
committed.
good. That's
Yes.
good.
And then
Well, I was gonna ask you, how did you get involved with Unleash? I want to hear like how you got involved and like even a little bit about what you do for Unleash as well, because I know you do a lot behind the scenes.
definitely. I think the lore behind how I kind of got involved at Unleash is insane. It's kind of one of those moments where, like, I don't know if you've ever felt like something was following you and it was kind of meant to be. That's
Yeah,
exactly how I felt about Unleash. So I'm currently based in Brighton, England, but if the accent does not give it away, I am from the States. I'm from Indiana. And so I was doing my last semester abroad in Budapest. And previously, I had a job lined up in Washington, D.C., had got accepted to do my master's at Johns Hopkins. And a couple weeks into the semester, I call my mom. I'm like, I know that this sounds kind of crazy, but what if I tried to get a job in Europe? And like, no intention to stay in Budapest. And her and my stepdad were the only people in my family to support me during this. Shout out to Chad and Julie Sowash on that one.
Legends.
Yes, absolute legends, for believing in me and my vision. And so then they were like, so everyone in Europe has a master's. And I was like, okay, if I don't have a master's, is anyone even going to want to employ me? And so they were like, you know what? Our friend Mark Coleman, the CEO at Unleashed, they were like, we know him. Why don't you send him a message and just kind of get his advice and get his take on what it is that you should do? So I sent Mark a message on LinkedIn and asked if he'll meet me. I think we had to reschedule probably 4 or 5 times.
Perfect.
Yeah. And so by the time that we finally met, we just started chatting and it felt like I had met him before. And I loved when we started the conversation. He started off more on like a personal note and it made him like very approachable and he's very like warm, charismatic person. And we just started chatting and he was like, do you want a job? Do you want to stay here? And he was like, I have a project that kind of needs, to get up and going again. And he was talking about the startup program. And so I was like, you know what? Like, let's do it. And so I started working there in November 2022. And so that year, it was Unleash World. And I think we had 30 startups in total. And we didn't really have a program. And then I came in and I absolutely, through my mom and, Chad, I got to be able to see kind of the amazing community. And I was like, okay, how do we create like community connection, opportunities, and like kind of truly connect all the dots, right?
I
That
love that.
kind of, that envisioned the startup program. And so that's when we brought on, we have a startup workshop, which we're having again at Unleash America this year, a startup drinks reception. We were like, okay, let's do startup guided tours. Kind of when you go, I compare it to like, when you go to a new city and you're in Barcelona per se, they take you around to all of the landmarks. It's kind of like that, but for startups. And so I think I'm going into my 6th event, but last year at Unleash World 2025 or 2024, we had 80 startups.
Wow.
So yeah.
So what's that evolution been like in terms of the numbers of startups that have been involved? I mean, you mentioned 30 and now you're 80. So like
Yeah.
what's that look like over the years?
I think it's been, I kind of describe it as like working at a startup, right?
Mm.
Because really it's me and my counterpart. Shout out to Aniko Alesh. She's our startup sales business development manager. And so we've really kind of taken on being a team and working together. And it's like, okay, how can we really create, like, we really believe in the mission, but of course you go through the teething cycles and rings that are working at a startup. It's like, okay, how do we scale this? How do we get the marketing right? What are
Yeah.
the logistics behind this? Kind of all of those things. And I've been able to really see all of the different pieces kind of come to life. And as I mentioned at the beginning, like something that's meant to be. So I was actually first hire at a startup in 2018. Previously, I was working in the fashion industry. So this is one of those things where it's like, I have that experience and now I have this. And then I also work with startups every day. So I kind of hear the different kind of issues that they have.
I was going to ask you, what advice would you have? Because I know there's a lot of startups that are like, all right, what conference do we go to? Or like, how do we
Yeah.
maximize our experience? Obviously, ROI is huge. So what advice do you have out there, particularly with HR tech startups, of like what you've seen work well, what maybe hasn't worked well? Like what would be your advice for anyone out there who's listening, considering either Unleash or just any kind of conference? What advice would you have for them?
Yeah, so we love this question at Unleash. We actually, for example, I just worked with Marilyn Pearson Hendricks to do like a startup prep webinar. And for that one, we were talking about perfecting your elevator pitch, right? So making sure that you have like, knowing exactly who your target audience is. But I always tell people, take a step back from that. And as simple as it sounds, really do your research and prepare for the conference. As soon as that app opens, start going through. I would say spend probably 4 to 5 hours, identifying who your targets are, who are your partners, who are those people that you really want to have those conversations with. I've been on both sides of the coin where I've planned the events, but I've also attended events before. And I think there's nothing worse as an attendee than receiving messages where you're like, this has nothing to do with me. You know, I don't work on.
Of
Someone messaged
course.
me one time about pianos.
I
I'm not
know.
kidding.
I know.
And I was
Well,
like,
it's bad now too with AI because a lot of
yeah,
people, we were talking about this earlier, where it's like they just rely on AI to create the message. And I think to your point, a lot of people aren't doing research. And I think you see this a lot with HR tech, TA tech, anything that's supposed to help out HR or recruiting. It's like if you've never done the role, it's hard anyway. But then if you haven't done the research on who you're talking to, yeah, I think that's a quick way to ruin, the impression, like you said. So I love that, like,
100%.
just taking a step back, not just jumping into the elevator pitch, but just understanding who are you even trying to pitch? Like, why, what do you know about them? And it does go a long way. So you said 4 to 5 hours, though. That's quite a bit of homework then for people. So
Okay,
when people
1
tell
to
you that,
2.
what's their reaction to that? Like, oh my God, this is intense. So like,
Um,
what's their reaction to that?
I think I think it varies on who you're talking to.
Hmm.
If you really want to see we can have as many people there or have, at Unleash, we focus on a lot of like Fortune 500 leaders, right? You can have all of those people in front of you, but if you have not done the homework, for me, there's no greater like business ick than someone walking up to you to try to pitch you something. And it's like, okay, but I don't buy pianos. So,
Hmm.
you know what I mean? So I think it's kind
100%.
of, yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those things. You get what you put in, what you get out.
All right, well, I'll put you on the spot now.
Yeah.
What's your elevator pitch for Unleash America? What would be your elevator pitch for someone?
Oh,
I like to put you on the spot like that.
I love this. Well, Marilyn and I actually just did this together. So if
All
we're
right.
talking
This
out
was not planned, just so everybody knows. It was not
just so
planned.
everyone knows. So am I like selling to a startup? Can we like
Yeah,
what's
yeah.
or just
Okay,
getting someone to come to
I'm
Unleash?
I'm a startup founder that's deciding on whether or not or I'm deciding my budget right now, and I'm trying to figure out what conference I should go to. And
Okay.
Unleash has come my way, and now I want to just know, like, really quickly, like, why do I need to be at Unleash over everywhere else?
Yeah, absolutely. So at Unleash, we've had 1,000 plus startups walk through our door since 2011. And on average, a startup can expect to generate 179 leads per show, and on average, also hold about 5 meetings per day. And so at Unleash, we have the most HR tech startups at our event in the industry. And we pride on ourselves on having a developing startup program. We even have a dedicated person for the startup program, including me. And so we also focus on how we can take our startups on a journey. And a lot of startups have found that Unleash is a place for their success. So we have a startup drinks reception, we have our startup award, which has been full of a star-studded judging lineup. We've had the CHRO of Spotify, Katarina Berg. Yes, I was fangirling. Josh Burson, Sadie Bell, the VP of Systems at HPE, people from Coach Hub, and we do have a $50,000 Unleash sponsorship grand prize.
I love it.
How's that?
I love it. Simon, you
I
had
can
me
make
at
it a little bit longer.
drinks. So that's all you had to say. Just a happy
Fabulous.
hour with drinks, and we're all there. So,
Sold.
okay, and I know we're gonna wrap up here in a second, but you've also got you got Unleash US, and then you've got Unleash World. Which one is your favorite, and why?
Ah, I
Tough
like
one.
both for different reasons. I do love Unleash America just because as an American, when you come back,
Yeah.
I know everybody. It's just kind of a different environment. And like my mom and my stepdad are at the show. My brother is coming this year. My aunt might even be coming.
Oh, family
Yes,
reunion in
it
Vegas.
is.
I love it.
It's literally a family reunion.
I love that.
But just to like see everybody, I think is so, so fun.
Yeah.
And also last year we introduced the startup workshop at
So
Unleash
cool.
America, which was the first year that we had done it. My first time planning that. And actually, a fun fact about that, we had Jesse Tinsley, who is,
JT
yes,
recruiter.com. I heard of that guy.
yeah. And he put in a bid to literally buy TikTok
Yeah.
with Mr. Beast.
I
So
know.
I was like, that was kind of fun this year to like see the progression of that.
I told him if he gets that, then all my videos are gonna get millions of views instead of hundreds of thousands. And he said I can't do anything about that. So
Oh,
anyway, I was
what's
like,
the
what's
point
the
of
point
doing
of?
TikTok then?
I know. I was like, if I own TikTok, I'd be so famous. But all right. Well, where can people find out more about you? Where can people find out about Unleash, and where can they sign up, get to the event as well?
Definitely go to unleash.ai, but you can also send me a message on LinkedIn. I will include my LinkedIn in the chats, and I
Amazing.
will also put my email, which is kennedy@unleash.ai.
All right. Well, Kennedy Cook in the house. Looking forward to seeing you again at Unleash America. I will be there. Our
Woo!
Purple Acorn squad will be there, which is another reason you should
Love it.
go. But we're super excited and great work. Looking forward to seeing more of what you accomplish over the next few years here. So thanks a lot, Kennedy. And we are
Thank
gonna
you.
move on to the weather with our weatherman, the one and only Serge.
Good morning, beautiful people. All right, let's talk about today's workforce forecast. Probably reading the news, you've seen the buzz about bringing manufacturing jobs back to the US. But here's the reality we need to face in HR. North Americans just don't want these jobs. So, just this year in 2025, we've seen over 500,000 open manufacturing roles go unfilled. The talent pipeline is just not there. So, let's try to figure out why. If you look at it right now, younger workers, especially Gen Z, are prioritizing flexibility, purpose, career growth, things they really don't associate with traditional factory work. Also, what about automation? So it cuts the number of roles significantly, also while raising the skill bar for those that remain. So even with incentives, tariffs, as a Canadian, I hate those, and reshoring efforts, the bigger issue is the workforce. Is there a solution? Well, as we talked at the start of the show, we can refocus our workforce towards upskilling for advanced manufacturing like clean energy, semiconductors, battery tech. But if it was me, I think I'd double down on supporting the service sector, which now makes up to 70% of the US economy and has been the engine of growth for as long as I've been alive. So, bottom line, and this is not political, although it sounds very attractive to see a lot of jobs come back to the US. Fact is, we just can't do it the same cost as it's done overseas. And people don't really want to do those jobs. So I don't think any of us want to pay $20,000 for an iPhone. I just don't think it's an option. So let's just focus on our strengths here in North America. And that's CHR Weather. Let's get back to the panel.
Ooh, Serge is bringing the
Ooh,
heat.
what are we building?
So what do you guys think? What do Americans want, or North Americans, I guess, do we want those manufacturing jobs again?
There's a reason that those jobs went overseas a long time ago, and that was two reasons. One, it was lower production costs, and two, labor costs. Labor costs were lower. Plus, Americans didn't want to do those jobs. We've seen those memes going around. We're going to bring all that production back here to lower costs. Let's have some real talk here. Are those people who are going to do those jobs? Who?
Okay, well, machines for one, and
Yeah.
having just come back from an industrial intelligence conference, I will say because the machines are doing the work doesn't mean that we don't need people to oversee the systems
The
and
overlords.
and to take action when things go awry. So the industrial intelligence is enabling us to actually understand what's like and monitor the systems in real time. And I think that's where there's opportunity. And there's opportunity in working for the companies that support manufacturing, and whether it be in recruiting, whether it be in marketing, whether it be, like whatever the type of function that exists for every single industry. So I kind of I disagree with you, Serge, on
Oh,
that. That we don't want to.
Oh,
I think this industry just needs better branding, better positioning. Because if you really think about it, and before we were talking about this too, like blue collar work, like plumbing, electrical, that type of engineering is, it's interesting because it lets people start their own businesses and have that autonomy and flexibility. So there are places you can find that opportunity and that, for that type of lifestyle. And I think this industry overall, just like working with your hands, just needs to be rebranded.
Ooh.
Well, I
It's
agree with
working
that.
with your hands rebranded. I like that.
So
Yeah, you
Danielle,
go.
I completely agree. I think there's a difference also when it comes to skilled trades. Like we do need more plumbers, we do need more
We do, and they're
electricians,
not
we
going
need
away.
builders in that sense. But that
Construction's
is
booming.
different than
Data
a
centers,
manufacturing
right? We
job.
need them.
100%. Data centers are and also the technology. Yeah, and that's what I mean by the companies and the types of services that are needed to support the infrastructure we're creating. You put in a prompt, you ask ChatGPT to, generate an image for you. I'm curious how much energy that actually required for all those, memes that went around the internet and
Mm,
circulated. Like each one of those prompts requires so much energy, and I don't think we have the infrastructure currently to support that, and
yeah.
we're building, and that's what we're building now, and this is like the next frontier, right? Like that company that just went public, CoreWeave, I think is building the infrastructure to support AI.
Well, there's a couple things that you said there that I completely agree. I think we need data centers, and data centers, when it comes to how we support them, needs very sustainable energy
Yep.
sources that is very constant, which I don't know if you've looked at the energy grid in the US, is it's not aligned to it and is not even close to being aligned to
Mhm.
doing that. So where are you going to get that sustainable energy? A lot of people say nuclear
Mm.
is definitely a big one.
Mhm.
The other factor too is this is a lot of heat. This needs to be in very cold climates. I know the perfect country that is a
Or state.
friend to the
Ah.
American public that can host all these data centers
Our
with
55
sustainable energy.
Ah.
So here's just
Greenland. Greenland. I think Greenland is the answer.
Greenland could be definitely an option, although energy is a challenge there. It's definitely not a
Mhm.
challenge in
We could
Canada.
just run the wires from Canada to Greenland and just connect the dots. We could just
Just
go
connect
up
the
and
dots,
over.
exactly. It's all going to be part, right? Like
It's all one. It's all one Trumpiverse. Yeah, we'll get there.
yeah, I just think at the end of the day, a lot of the manufacturing jobs in that we think about, and to your point, Danielle, some of these jobs are going to change, but is it going to be that many jobs of supervising the machines? Is it going to be worthwhile to do it? I'm not exactly sure that's the case. There's obviously probably a lot of data that is saying it is, but fact is, it's not very attractive to go work those shift
Mm.
works, be at a desk for a certain amount of time. Like, would you say the younger generation wants that manufacturing type of role? I would say they're more oriented towards the service economy, which is
Mhm.
America's strength. Like, there is no one stronger when it comes to the service economy than the US, and I think that's a good thing. Why not double down on it?
Double down.
Triple
Yeah.
down. Triple
Yeah.
down.
Healthcare is also one of the fastest growing industries. I think it might
We
be
need
the
it.
number one.
Yeah. Yeah, that's an interesting one too, because there's massive challenges across the world, and it's systematic. It's we just need more nurses, we need more doctors, and that's going to be a challenge that we're going to see.
Lots of challenges, and we'll be here to report it every Tuesday morning on the HR Morning Show. We want to thank you, Serge, as always, for
Surge.
the weather report, and let's keep it moving. I think we got another caller coming in. We have a new friend to the show. We got to wait for the phone to pick up. Kat, welcome to the show.
What's up? How's it going?
Doing all right. Hi, friend. Where on this fine planet are we speaking with you today?
I am in Rockford, Illinois, which is about an hour outside of Chicago.
It's just a great name of it, like Rockford. Like rocks are solid, but like it's just like when you think about that name, I'm like, that's a cool sounding town. Is it cool?
It's funny, you were just talking about manufacturing, and Rockford was one of those cities that had like a huge manufacturing hub. They were really like a center of just kind of all of that energy, but they were also hit really hard during the .com. And to Danielle's point, I think that's when manufacturing jobs got such a bad rap, was during the .com bubble, when everybody is trying to
Went to
do
tech.
technical this and .com that. And And I actually completely agree with Danielle that
Wow,
they
that's a
have a
first.
bad rap. And I also, as a job post writer, just feel like every job could be loved by somebody.
So
Like,
yeah,
maybe-
interesting. So let's get into it, Kat. Before we get into it, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself, tell us who you are and what you do best.
Yeah, so my name is Kat Kibben. If you know who I am, it's probably because you have heard of my name in the same sentence as job post writing. And I am currently kind of evolving my business to be more of a recruiting consultant that helps make hiring more human.
Ooh, I like it. So let's get into job posting. And I'm a recruiter by trade. I'm in the trenches. And years ago, before even AI, I just turned 10 in my recruiting life. And I remember when I started recruiting 10 years ago, I was working with I was working at a search firm. And we talked about this idea of turning a job description into a job ad. And that kind of got my attention because it's how do you reposition it? How do you think about your target? How do you really think about using a job description to attract talent instead of just throwing bullet points and all that kind of stuff? So I would love if you could kind of hit the rewind button and just quickly give us a history lesson of job descriptions into what they were and what they are and what they should be.
Man, I could do this for probably a full hour.
But we'll do it for about 6 minutes.
I gotcha. No, the short level version is if you look at job postings 100 years ago, they look exactly the same way.
But they were etched with like in hieroglyphics, like just
right. Well, they were actually better, I think, because they were shorter.
Right.
Because they were in the newspaper and we paid per word.
Ooh, hot take.
So we actually thought about the words we used.
And now we just blabber.
Oh, we bullshit all the way. It is a solid, just last week, I always, before I do a presentation, I search the phrase highly collaborative team player on Indeed. And I put it, I do a little Boolean string and I try to see how many times it's mentioned. And it has never been below 10,000.
How many ninjas do you find in your report?
I don't
Or rock
research
stars.
Ninjas. Yeah, exactly. Because fun fact, I was a ninja at one point. That was my official job title when I worked at Monster.
Like American Warrior Ninja or like more like job posting ninja?
I was a social media ninja when I worked at Monster. I was their very first social media hire.
Wow, was that in your official title? Like was ninja in the title?
I kept one business card because I knew no one would believe me.
You have to frame that. So where did you see the first aha moment in your evolution of writing jobs when you're like, wait a minute, we could do this better and we could do this more effective. Let's play this out.
Yeah, so I am also kind of I love being in the trenches and doing it. And so I offered to write job postings for free and I had 1,000 people contact me in 30 minutes. And I did every single one. And mind you, I'd written job postings before that, but never at that scale.
Wow.
Right? I wrote one-off things, or they assigned me 5, and I kind of worked through them because I sat on the employer brand side of recruiting. And so I did all 1,000, and I realized that everyone thought job postings were supposed to be wildly different from everyone else's, but there were actually specific things that went into every good job posting. And it was really straightforward, and it didn't matter if it was from the C-suite
Right.
or an hourly worker in manufacturing.
And what are those fundamentals? What are those core pieces?
Money.
Oh,
No one chooses a job without knowing how much money they're going to make.
first thing, let's clear people out of the way. If you fall into this I always say money up front. I didn't mean to interrupt you there, but like the easiest way is like, okay, I'm either at that, looking for that, or way above it. And if I'm way above it, I'm moving on. Save time.
Exactly.
Get that out of the way.
It's a deal breaker. It's
Yes.
a deal breaker.
It's
Put
a
it
stop
out
sign.
front.
It's a stop sign.
I'm with you 100% on that. And location is the second one that
Hmm.
we don't really think about, but again, it's a deal breaker. And to all of those people who put hybrid when they really mean you can like work from home one day of the month, that's not what that means. Stop
Nope.
lying.
That is not hybrid. And I think you have to be upfront with that too. And this blows my mind when I post jobs versus outbound recruiting, how many people just completely do not look at the location. And I'm like, why are you wasting my time? Are you spraying and praying? And I think that job seekers need to take responsibility as well.
Well, yeah, I think the problem, and this is kind of a sidebar, is that we have really poor AI that's creating these mirrors of misinformation. We have trash job postings going out there, and then they built AI to create resumes that reflect those trash job postings. So now we have really generic job posts next to really generic resumes, and we're literally like working ourselves into it. I'm going to find a more polite way to say a huge issue. Thank you.
So with these 1,000 job ads that came to you, you did everyone by hand, or were you using AI tools for this?
No, This was 2000. It was
Oh,
8
sorry.
years
Yes.
ago.
Yeah. So what? So how long did this take you?
It took us about 50 days. I actually hired an admin to help me kind of organize.
And
the
you were doing
back
these
end
for
of
free?
everything. I did all of them for
So
free.
what was the
because
business
I
model here? Were
wanted
you trying to
prove my
attract business?
model.
So you wanted to prove your model.
No. I wanted to know what made a good job posting. And the only way to make a
To do
good
it.
job posting is not something that sounds good. And this is kind of my fundamental issue with all the AI job
Yeah, let's get into it.
writers. They make it sound good, but good is a measure of truth. Good is a measure of accuracy and understanding and clarity, not
Versus fact.
sounds nice.
So pause on that for a moment, Kat, because I saw a job posting, this went around LinkedIn for a bit, where the founder was very upfront. They're like, this is not a 40-hour-a-week job. We are building something here. We're going to be very straight up with you. This is probably a 60-hour-a-week job. We will compensate. We will take care of you. We're being very upfront about who we're looking for and understanding the commitment. That, in my opinion, was so truthful, and there was such good positive feedback from that. Of course, there were the haters there, but that didn't get it. But I applauded. I said, you know what? This founder is being very clear about expectations, and I think that's the difference with a job description versus a job ad. Managing expectations, attracting the right talent, and being upfront with it. Because if you feed that into AI with not the right prompts, it's gonna water it down to make it just sound more attractive but not be truthful, to your point.
Yes, exactly. And no machine can tell you you're not telling the truth. You don't need
No.
that code. You don't need that level of experience. You don't need someone that senior. And that's where I'm really seeing this very large gap, and we're kind of running into the exact same wall we did before AI, which is we have a lot of information, and before you just copied and pasted everyone else's stuff, and now we're using AI to copy and paste, but we didn't know we copied and pasted because most people don't even think about how AI works in the first
And they don't even know we don't even know where the data is coming, like the input sets coming depending on your chat GPT. And then a lot of these platforms out there, these TA tech platforms, they have this built-in AI, and it's not, they think it's just an easy button, like the autopilot. We're going to hit the autopilot and make it. So how do companies really dig into this to make it a difference maker? How do you do job ads the right way?
I think you focus on the psychological components that influence people, which is what I found by writing those 1,000 jobs. And the second piece of it is communicating them in a way that anyone can understand. So the first is those last three things. So we talked about salary and location. The last three things are the impact. Why did you hire me? Why'd you hire me? Who do I help? What do I do? And it is not an inspiration contest. It's one sentence. The second is everyday activities, because the majority of jobs don't align with the work you do every day, and that's why people quit. The third is the mandatory requirements. This is where we have a massive amount of upskilling to do in the world of recruiting.
Yep.
But if we can tap into those three things and create a job post, it doesn't have to sound good. It doesn't have to make everyone feel good. Like you said, that it can be polarizing. But if you tell the truth, you've already done better than most people. And
this is eye-opening. I think this is critical information here. And then let's translate that into the process when it comes to hiring managers. Because if you're being more upfront at the top of the funnel, you're making the recruiter's job easier. You're able to screen out, hopefully people actually read, unless they're using the AI apply tools, which is a whole other podcast we could get into. But if you're actually reading it and you're a candidate and you take the time, okay, I'm qualified. Expectations are upfront. Salary, location, mandatory skills, day-to-day. I got those. I'm down for that. So by the time you get to the recruiter, you're checking the boxes. By the time you get to the hiring manager, you're checking the boxes and hopefully removing frustration. But on the other side of that, what's happening with hiring managers out there who don't have a buckled-in process like this?
I think that is where we get really good, is having recruiters who can function as consultants and not order takers.
Of course.
If you work in the agency world, yes, you are an order taker, but you also have to be a consultant. That's why they pay you the big bucks. If you are in-house, you can't just be the order taker, because we have to negotiate with them every single step of the way. And that's where the hiring manager intake, as much as I think these technologies think we can get job postings better just by working on the job post, it actually doesn't matter. The hiring manager intake is our source of truth. And if that doesn't happen well, good luck. You can't write a job post if you don't know the truth.
No, the intake is everything, right? The intake is really having a conversation with the hiring manager, asking, calibrating, and level setting questions. And it always boils back up, Kat, to one thing, which is managing expectations on all sides and calibrating, continuous recalibration, tweaking. Listen, I've also found as a recruiter, and I give a lot of grace here, that when a company starts a brand new role, maybe it's a new role within the organization, maybe it evolves. Maybe it changes as you meet somebody. Like, well, you know what? I met Kat, and they have great skills that may not align exactly, but I like what I'm seeing from Kat, and I want to adjust the role accordingly. That's okay, as long as you're tweaking the job description along the way and not leaving it static. And now the top of funnel still bringing in people that aren't aligned.
Exactly. Well, and I think even bigger picture than that right now is, if we don't get this data right, how do we AI anything from there? How do I automate compensation if I don't align skills? How do I create performance feedback or assessments to assess your skills if
Of course.
I don't know what you do? We're screwing ourselves before we even get there. The data quality is such an issue, and job posts are exactly where that starts.
So how are you translating your analog research now into this AI digital world? Are you building your own AI tools? How are we making this more ubiquitous? How are we making this easier to use for everyday recruiter use?
I think it's about training your team on how to use AI, right? We have a lot of people deploying systems without ever establishing what good means. And it's literally just enablement. It's the same enablement as before, because I can give you any tool in the world. If you actually know what good means, you can get something good out of it. And the quality of the tool doesn't actually matter, because in theory, we're using it to optimize job titles for SEO. We're shortening and lengthening things, but you inputted something that was good, and that alone is going to get you much better results than anything else.
Focus on quality and not quantity. So what's exciting these days? What are you working on? Give us some alpha here, Kat.
I love it. So I'm working on a book right now about how to live through uncertainty. So I spent 3 years living in a van, traveling the country and running my business.
Oh, cool.
Literally out
Van
of the
life.
car.
Hashtag van life.
Yeah. And what I realized when I came into this year and all of the uncertainty of the politics in the US right now and the economy and everything else, I realized that it had given me a really unique skill set that anyone can use at work to make work a little more bearable, especially anxious people. So I wanted to give the gift of the life lessons, and I'm working on that book for this fall.
I'm digging it. Kat, I want to thank you so much for joining us. We could certainly continue the conversation. We'd love to have you back on. Where could folks find you? Where could they connect? Where could they learn more?
Yeah, so I'm the only Katrina Kibben in the world. So if you spell my name right, you'll find me. If you spell it wrong, you'll find a priest for the U.S. House of Representatives. And you should know you are in the wrong place, because I'm too gay for that job.
I love it, Kat. Thank you so much for joining us from Rockford, Illinois. Kat Kibben on the HR Morning Show. Thank you so much for joining us, and you have a great rest of your week.
Thanks for having me.
Aw, so good to see an old friend, Kat Kibben. Wow, what a great convo. Love that.
We'll keep it going.
Let's go. Let's go. We want to give a special shout out to Erin. Erin. If you guys don't know
A lot of
Erin,
awards.
number one, you haven't been on G2 because they're absolutely smashing it. You also haven't been to any conferences because you notice the sloths, the red shoes, the sick jackets, the sick swag. But what is Erin all about?
Swag. Yeah, what is it all about?
Apparently, Erin is number one employee referral technology. And so what you're able to do is you're actually able to gamify employee referrals. You're able to set up a system. And when I talk to a lot of HR leaders, when I talk to a lot of recruiting leaders, one of the questions I always ask with any open role is, hey, do you have anyone that you could refer? Do you have a program set up? And a lot of times they've got a program set up on like Excel. Yeah, you heard me, Excel or Google Sheets. But this platform, Erin, really allows you to like gamify and really create great incentive and plans for your employees. And I always say, if you are not getting referrals from your current employees, you might have a culture issue. In all reality, I think employee referrals are going to take over recruiting? No, but it definitely should play a part because hiring is a team sport. So go check out Erin. Go check out all the badges they've won on G2. 18 badges, and we could read through all these badges. I'm not going to do that, but you need to check out because I don't know how to read. But you need to check out ERIN. So go check out ERIN, and we're proud to have them as a sponsor of the show as well.
Thank you, ERIN.
Shout out to Mike Staffy and team, and Evan
Shout
White is in there as well. So just really appreciate that support and sponsorship.
Love our
And if
friends
you
at ERIN.
want a pair of red shoes, send me a DM, and I might be able to hook you up if you want those red shoes to look badass at the next conference, which will be coming up. So huge shout out to ERIN. Go check them out. And I think we're on to our next section of the show. Do you have another caller? Another caller?
Another caller?
At Humoriso, we're not just another HR consultancy. We're a team of dedicated experts wanting to bring your business forward. Our Humoriso Technology Solutions, HTS, are a different kind of HR tech. Give real-time insights without overwhelming managers with too much data. So whether you're a growing startup, an established company, our human resources outsource support, payroll management are all there to help drive your business forward. So check us out and see what Humoriso could do for you today.
Hello. Welcome back to the show, Summer.
Hi, I'm so excited to be back. And then I just wanted to hit myself in the head because I didn't wear my red shoes today. I was so excited to have gotten them a few weeks ago. Official red shoe crew. I do wear them out though.
So yeah, I saw the video.
Nice kick.
So cute.
Right? Yeah.
They're the best.
I'm so excited to be back on.
I know, me too. I'm excited. We love someone who comes back to the show, friend of the show. So you're officially a good friend of the show because you've been back a second time. So welcome. For anyone who doesn't know, where are you in the world?
Perfect. So Summer Baruth. I live in Charlotte, North Carolina, where I also work for TIAA. We're a financial services company. I've been there almost a year. So it's been a very fun time. I've loved it. Been back in an office on a hybrid space. So that's been different for me, but I also love it. And then I do a lot of work in the community around the globe around first generation students. I would do a lot of work with college students and kind of taking all the things that I've learned in the world and pouring into this next generation. Because, I got 2 kids that are about that age, 18 and 22. I take all the questions I get from them, all the questions I get from our rotational associates at work, stuff I see out on university campuses. I still love coming to conferences and talking about all things around that space. And recently started these different series on different platforms, just talking about the importance of brand and how you show up in the world and really thinking about, it's all this shit that I wish somebody would have told me when I was in my 20s.
For sure. Yeah.
And it took me until I actually had a student ask me yesterday. She's like, "You seem so confident and pulled." I was like, "Girl, please. I was in the floor crying last night." I promise you. But it's so funny that I want to save people some time, hear it from me, hear it from lots of other people, not from your parents, not from your boss, but showing up as yourself in the world is your differentiator.
I love that. And I love your level of vulnerability that you obviously bring to your work, because I think a lot of the time it's we see these CEOs and leaders out there in the world and they look like they have everything together, and it's if you ask them what their 20s were like, or what, that's why I love the show, My First Job with Mike Wood, because it's you're going back in time and you get a sense of, well, I actually was at a very similar place to you, or even more behind, quote unquote, than you are now. And that means that you're going to surpass where I am. Right.
Absolutely.
And having that perspective of someone who says, hey, I've been there. I actually have been down bad, a lot of days. And here's how I bounced back. I think that's so valuable.
Yeah. And it's interesting, right? I think a lot of the work so I started off my career path in radio. And so it's this bizarro path. And then it was I want a grown-up job, screw radio. And then it was let me go into HR because I like people. Said no actual HR practitioner ever, by the way. Oh, I love people. Let me go into HR. But I grew up a lot in corporate in that space because I got to bounce around and do a lot of different roles. I found my passion kind of in this branding space where I took, these two worlds of mine and kind of collided them together. And so even though I'm like in brand strategy, I spend a lot of my time with HR in the HR space, still as a practitioner in some regard. And then also too, like I have heavy influence around not just leaders in my own company, but I still work with a lot of leaders in lots of different industries at the like C-suite level. And I think that what I find, Danielle, is like, a CEO of like a Fortune 100 company has the same insecurities that someone in the workforce has often, right? Like it's just different. It's a different level. It's like I say, like to young moms, like I've got kids on this other end of it. They're adults now. The problems just get more expensive. I'm sorry. Like it's like the problems just evolve, right? But it's kind of the same if you take it from, these executives, they have things that they're insecure about. They have things that they wish somebody had told them when they were in their 20s, to your point, and they have things that like make them uncomfortable. And so I try to meet them where they are to help them think about their brand a little bit differently and how they show up, right? But then I take all that and kind of also meet it on the other side, like with the on the students side of it. So I think, in helping people early in career understand we're all human, dude. Like we're just, as my kids say, bro, we're just trying to show up the same, like we're all just trying to get.
And that's what makes for great content too, because people want to get to the bottom of that human side, right? And I think when you have content that speaks to that human side and that speaks to the insecurities or speaks to your former self in a way that actually reaches a lot more people. And one of the things that I think comes up a lot for young professionals, at least the ones that I'm talking to, is feeling like you're somewhere where you maybe aren't valued or like you're thought of as being too much, right? I've been in this situation where it's like I'm not a yes woman. And if you want a yes person, then like that's fine, but I'm not that. I am going to tell you what I think in a respectful way, but I'm not just going to go along with everything you tell me or like, and not give my opinion because that's what you hired me for. You hired me for my brain. So I'm curious, like if you have any unique perspectives on everything you say is unique because it's you, but but on like how do you navigate that, like feeling like you're too much?
So it's so funny. I recently written a post around this, right around too much. And like, I am the queen of too much. I have 3 closets in my house that will attest to this around like, why save all your clothes for like dress up days? This is how we go all the time.
That's what my aunt says all the time.
And I'm always like, I've always been a disruptor. And to your point, it's why I've gotten hired into roles and it's why they love me until they don't love me. Right. And I think in my 20s and 30s, then I would just kind of be like, yeah, you're right. Okay. Yep. Not yet. Got it. Check. Not yet. I actually used to have a board at one of my jobs. The CEO would pass it every day. And it actually said, I put like, not yet, too much, too loud on it just to annoy him because see, that shows like who I am at my core. So it was like, I was being quiet about it, right? Sometimes, but I think that, quiet-ish adjacent. I think that, I let it get in my head too much. And then the imposter syndrome started to take over. And I'm like, well, that one person thinks that I'm too much. Therefore, let me dim it down a little bit. So you'll see on my platforms a lot, I'm talking about light it up, be too much, be in their face about it, be respectful, but find your own voice because I wasted like, I won't say it's wasted time because it was all learnings. But when I look back now, I mean, honestly, like to that student yesterday, I was like, okay, I'm 46. I figured this shit out when I was 40. Like, where I finally was like, oh, I can be too much and still have, like leave space for other people. I can like, speak my mind and starting to teach other people in organizations that those CEOs, some of them really just want yes people. That's fair. But for the most part, they do want someone who's going to challenge them, ask the questions, do it in a respectful way. And so I do encourage people to like step up because when you're not, then it's that sea of sameness that I talk about all the time, right? Like we're all just robots then. I mean, I know we've been talking a lot about AI today, which I love, but it's like even that shouldn't be a sea of sameness, right? So it's like, how do you set yourself apart in that way? And I think it's you're not saying no, but you're saying yes and like reminding them of here's all the things, but here's the solution. And I think just it comes with time, but I also want to kind of remove that time suck from people and just be like, if you feel it in your gut, like go for it.
Yeah, and I think it really applies also to anyone who's on the job search, right?
Yes,
Like,
absolutely.
and I read a post the other day on LinkedIn about how this person applied to a job and they sort of pitched a different role than what was posted, and they end up getting hired. And so I think, like, taking what you said, it's like you can apply that to any
Absolutely.
place in your life, but especially in the job search, it's like you actually have to do more to stand out. You have to do more to get the job, not just apply, but like actually pitch an alternative idea or send a
Yeah.
video or, come up with something unique that really showcases your own perspective and what you bring to the table.
Yeah. And it is interesting because I think it is a very daunting space right now for people, right? And job seekers. I mean, I have lots of friends who are searching right now, and it's
Mhm.
painful to kind of watch them navigate it. And then when you add to that, like, hey, start showing up better online. Hey, figure out what sets you apart, which you do have to because
Yeah.
everyone is out there applying. And I think it's, you know, I think the biggest takeaway for me right now, especially in this moment in time that we're in, is that people are going to have to be curious and be extremely open to things they never thought of before, making
Mhm.
that pivot. Because it could be that you like get really creative about something and pitch something, and then you end up in an entirely different career path. That's what happened to me. It's how I ended up in employer brand and kind of in that space, and it kind of led to this like brand strategy space. It was just saying yes to things that were super freaking scary at the moment. You're like, no, I wanted to be an HR girly. No, I didn't, but I did. Right. But it was like, trying to figure that out and just being curious and asking questions and then being open kind of led me down this crazy nonlinear path. Uh,
Yeah. I
but
love
it's
that.
the
And
best.
and I feel like it just happened to me. Like I went to an industrial intelligence conference of
Yep.
all things, and I just found myself really resonating with the types of people that were there. And they may or may not have said at one point, "Oh, like we're like a family." I heard someone say that to me, and I was
Mhm.
like, like that's not the best branding.
Yeah.
You could do better."
Yeah.
But the point being, like I actually really felt that, and going into this conversation of like how do you know that a space is for you. I think it's just like it's a feeling, it's an intuition. It's like you meet enough of the people that really can reinforce the feelings that you're
Mhm.
experiencing, and you realize, oh wow, I could actually see myself in an industry I'd never heard of before.
Correct.
And I'd never even like interacted with people who work in this industry. So I think that's a great, yeah. Any
Well,
kind
I
of
mean, I think it's I love that. And I think that's part of that piece of being open and being
yeah.
curious and asking questions because yes, there's segments in the world of things that you have to be extremely skilled at and extremely like licensed to do, right? But there are a lot of things in this world that you just have to have an open mind and be teachable. And so if you really feel like I'm most at home with this type of people that are working in this kind of work, the rest of it will come.
Mhm.
And you learn the rest of it, and you figure it out. And I think that's been most of my career, like
Mm,
like kind of shift pivot. Oh, I'll figure it out. Shift pivot, I'll figure it out. And just
yeah,
surround yourself around people who are willing to teach you and be willing to learn and
oh,
not always feel
love
like you
that.
have to be right all the time, right? Like
Yeah.
we're not always going to be right. We're not always going to be wrong. Why does anybody have to be? Like it's just continuously learning. So I think
Mhm.
I often get asked, what do I want to be when I grow up? I still don't know because I feel like it's an ever evolving space. I
I
don't
love
have it on my radar like, oh, I'm going to retire soon. Like I just want to like continue to do fun stuff. And
yeah.
that comes with asking questions and
Learn. We love
yeah,
learning.
sticking my nose in places that people are probably like, stop it. But
Well, thank you so much for joining us.
fun.
Let us know where we can find you and stay connected.
Absolutely. So I heard Kat say she's the only Kat Kibben. I am the only Summer Baruth. So that's really helpful. Baruth on LinkedIn is the best place to find me. I love to take conversations offline and actually become friends in real life. So please,
Heck yeah, I love that. All right, well, thank you so much for joining, and let's get back to the squad.
I appreciate you all. Thank you.
That is a great show, folks. Lots of experts and thought leaders from the world of HR,
HR.
talent, people, culture. We cover it all. And guess what? If we're not the expert, we bring in the experts because that's what we do here. We curate the best and the brightest here every Tuesday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern time with my friends Serge, Clark, Joel, and Danielle. I want to thank ERIN for their support. And we're getting close to that 2,000 follower mark. Please come join the fun. We're here every Tuesday. If you want more Purple Acorn, check out purpleacornnetwork.com. We are a podcast. Find us on Spotify. Find us on YouTube. We are everywhere. Closing thoughts, Joel Algie, going into the week.
Look, number one, I love this show. Number two, if you're going to use AI, this was the theme from the day. If you're going to use AI, keep that human in there. Don't fully rely on it. So it's good to be with you guys.
Yeah.
And go to Unleash.
Yeah.
See you at Unleash and ERE.
Yeah. Danielle, closing thoughts.
Closing thoughts. Get outside today.
Touch some grass, people.
Touch grass.
Touch some grass, as the kids say. Yeah, that's how we do it. We'll be back here next Tuesday. Thank you, everyone, for spending your mornings with us. This is the HR Morning Show, and thank you to our Purple Acorn production team in the truck for all your support. Everyone out there, have a good day. Be good to yourself. Be better to others. And catch us next Tuesday and every Tuesday at 10 a.m. HR Morning Show out. Have a great day, everybody.